Hello, and welcome to the Footy Podcast. To benefit Here's Help. Here's Help is a nonprofit comprehensive rehabilitation and educational agency that's been providing treatment services in South Florida since 1968. For more information on Here's Help or Footy's podcast, you can contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. Now, here's Footy.
Welcome to the Footy Podcast. We are here every week, and we recorded at the studios at Here's Help on 151st Northwest 27th Avenue, just down the block from our new partners, Amazon. And
that's big.
Yeah, well, we discuss what we do here meaning Here's Help, and other things that are on our minds and could be of interest to you. If people want to track us, if they want to find us, how do they do that?
The podcast?
Yeah.
You just have to go to YouTube and just search Footy's Podcast. And
that's hard.
Pretty easy. Also, you can subscribe. Mm-hmm. Just click on the subscribe button. There's a little bell there you can click on, and we'll prompt you, and you'll get notifications when we have new podcasts.
Okay, good. Yeah. I actually got a bunch of responses from our recent podcasts.
Were they complaints?
No. You know what they were?
What?
They were mostly friends of mine from offshore racing.
Yeah, well, that particular podcast was one of the more popular.
Yeah. But they're still contacting.
Yeah, and and thanks for watching them all, by the way, because we're noticing an uptick in the amount of views of that podcast in particular.
Yeah, well,
last week's was a barn burner too. Podcast 8, by the way, is very funny.
Oh, we have the numbers now.
We definitely know where we're at. So
yeah,
it's been a work in progress.
A guy named Gary Jeffries is a good friend of mine. We did a lot of adventures. Let's put it that way.
I remember. I think it was a holiday party that you got me to host and DJ for that crew, that whole bunch. That was an experience.
Yeah, Brownie, all those guys.
Oh my God, that was a party and a half.
Ben Kramer.
Yeah,
it was.
He was. I'm sure he was there.
Yeah, there was a lot of them in that ilk.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was. We had good times. It actually was a family thing because they went all the way down to mini boats. So that you could, I had a mini boat and I would take Nick out, and we would race in the children's races, and then I would go try to get killed in the ocean.
That was an era, though, the 80s down here in South Florida.
Oh, man.
That was a time.
It was a time.
I was reminiscing. I found over the weekend, I was found in the bottom of my T-shirt drawer, a T-shirt from Hialeah Speedway. And,
remember when we used to go there? That was great.
I posted it. There's one of my Facebook pages I'm on is like I grew up in South Florida page, and so I posted that T-shirt, and it was amazing how many comments and people talking about us racing in the Enduros. And
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
All you needed was a helmet, a fire suit, and a car with the doors welded shut. Mine was a station wagon.
Oh my God!
I had several incidents, but
your car caught on fire.
Yeah, I was coming out of turn 4, which would have been more like headed towards the starting line again.
Right. Yeah.
And the car swung out, and we went right into the concrete retaining objects, and the car exploded and went on fire. And I jumped out the window onto the grass on the other side of the cement retainers, and there's a woman that I hear from, or see every once in a while. She was sitting in the front row there.
I was right behind her.
She said she got singed from the explosion.
People were the flames were so hot. People were leaving their seats in that area.
Yeah.
We were sitting right at.
She
at turn
works.
4.
I don't know if she's still there, but she worked at a car dealership in Fort Lauderdale,
Right.
and I was there for some reason, and she saw me and went crazy,
Yeah.
and she came out and we took.
And it just seemed to me, how when things like that happen, it seems like it takes forever. It just seemed like it was forever before you finally came out of that car. I don't know what was going on in there, or whether your seatbelt was jammed or
you
what.
got to get the seatbelt.
But-
You got, there's a lot of things involved.
Yeah, so
And,
that was bizarre. But yeah,
Thank God I had a fire suit on.
Right.
I had my
Well-
boat racing, my offshore fire suit. I was wearing it.
Fancy.
Well,
Nice.
no, it was safety.
And it was Bobby Coyle, I remember, who set
Oh.
us up. He gave us
Rest
all,
in peace, Bobby.
He gave us all helmets and fire suits, and it was his crew that would go out and find cars for us.
Yeah.
And God knows where they found them.
Well, they found them in the junkyard and repaired them and
Right.
threw them on the course.
And
there
I
on the
always,
track.
always remember, because we did several races, and of course, by the end of the race, the car we were in was useless, so
Yeah,
we'd have
right.
to get another one. And at some point, Sonny, at the end of the race, we would all get together and share our war stories from the race. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, there's
Sonny thought he was like.
well,
Sonny thought
he was AJ Foyt. Yeah, he was.
thought
He was all
AJ
in.
Foyt. He couldn't even barely get around the
He,
track. I hit him like 12 times.
Well,
in
that
one
was
lap.
the thing. There was I remember one race there were literally 100 cars on the track
yeah.
at the beginning. I mean, like the
Well, that was the point of it.
the first car was nudged
Yeah.
up against the last car, but they were all full of media people. So in addition to driving this hunk of junk, you're trying to take out all these people that you recognize.
Yeah. Who did I get?
I took out what's his name, the promotions director from Kiss Country. He was driving 99, and I yelled at him, and he waved. And when he took his hand off the wheel, I just took him out.
Yeah,
Sonny at one point wound up with I think it was a Pontiac Tempest. It was the year they came out with the swivel seat. I guess the idea was you could sit down in the car ladylike and then turn it and lock it in place and drive. Well, he got hit and the lock broke, so he's driving
Oh my God! With the swivel.
at breakneck speed, and the seat keeps going like this.
So every time he drives, he just goes. Yeah.
Oh man, those were the days.
I was lucky because I was supplied by professional guys.
Yeah,
with
something tells me you
professional
got
cars.
something tells me you got the best car.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how I wound up with a front wheel drive station wagon.
Yeah, but those were the 100 laps, 100 cars.
yeah, Enduros.
Yeah, they were Enduros. Yeah.
Oh my God! But this South Florida was so much fun between the Speedway and all the concerts that were going on, and the thing about being at Y100, you know this, is we were involved in all those things.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
any type of event where there was a half a dozen people, we were there. So it was a fun time to be here, and it was great to be able to have like free license and show up at all these crazy things.
Well, and the offshore racing community was
And
another quite unique.
yeah, another element of that.
Well, Ben Kramer.
Yeah, wow.
And but Gary, I raced.
Apache.
That was Ben.
Yeah.
And that's still there, but it's not Apache. And
Right.
Ben's so far under the ground they can't find him.
Wow.
I mean that in literally in, prison terms.
Right.
And but I did a number of things. We did a race with Ben, sponsored by Ben Kramer and Apache Boats, and I had to bring the pace boat down. So it was Miami Beach, and I took the pace boat down. And when I stood up to get out of the boat and get onto the dock, I had a Walkman. The Walkman fell in the water.
Oh.
And no, but if you remember, they had like gaskets on them.
Yeah.
And so I jumped in and I got the Walkman, because back then they didn't. So then I reach in my pocket and my money's gone for the weekend. I had like a money clip or something, and my money. It floated away. You people don't realize that paper money floats. Okay, I've experimented with that in a number of ways, but paper money floats, and so my money. And I said, "Oh my God!" But it had a money clip on it, so it didn't float like they usually float. It floated to the bottom. Is what it did. So Ben was there with the paste boat, and I said, "Ben, you got a mask?" And he gave me a mask. And all the guys from his crew, you can't find it. It's gone. It went down the current. It's out of here. The marina and everything. First dive down, right on the sand. There's my money. and that night, we went to a concert at the Orange Bowl. There was somebody. It was a weekend they had the race on Saturday.
Yeah, and it was like that then.
Yeah, and they had a concert. I forget who it was.
And amazing things going on.
Oh yeah. Well, back, not to dwell too much, but you really had to make your own entertainment. You had to do things. You couldn't just watch things.
Mm-hmm.
So it was much different. And then in offshore racing. Now, I don't want to give you the wrong impression. You know this. I was not like a world-class offshore racer. I was along for the ride, all right? And, but in fact, I talked to him just a couple of days, my friend Gary Jeffries, who we were in a boat that blew up, but, yeah, and I still hear from Gary all the time. Brownie, a lot of those guys I can't hear from Ben. They don't let them call up, but anyway, so that, of course, led to, we used to go to the islands a lot. We used to go to Alistown and Bimini. We used to go to Chub Key. We would go to the Exum. We went everywhere, all right? Go to Nassau and all those places, and running all over the place. And back then, I'm sure it's true today, there was a lot of enforcement, They were constantly They were constantly boarding your boat with machine guns to see what you had hidden up in the bow or whatever, all that stuff. And searching everything all the time. They held my kids, Johnny and Nick. They were 10 and 14 or whatever. And they held my kids with machine guns.
What?
They were holding machine guns on the boat. Just don't move.
I remember hearing that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't say anything.
Right, no.
And they would get us to, we were just having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But Gary and I and some of the other guys, we would go to Bimini like you would go to the 7-Eleven. And we'd go for lunch, drink, and then we come back and we get to Hallover, and there's 9,000 Coast Guard and everybody else on Earth, because they're looking for the smugglers.
Right.
And you can't convince them that you're not smuggling. They have no.
Right.
They just can't fathom, and they start searching everything. We had one guy that got us, and he started tearing the boat apart. Destroying the boat. Where is it? Where is it? And I say, there is nothing. We got a 6-pack of beer here.
Right.
With, and we ran into him again. He was with U.S. Customs, I guess, out of Miami, but he turned out to be like a rogue agent, and they put him. And what's his name? My friend at the Hollywood Police Department back then. They put him in the Hollywood Police Department boat. So they were basically like putting him somewhere where he couldn't annoy everybody, and they were getting all kinds of complaints. By we I mean Y100, me, and everyone. We complained about this guy because he interfered with our boat races and all that.
That you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Now that you mention, I remember that whole thing.
He was.
Yeah.
And but we were go to Nassau. We used to go to Nassau like you would go to 7-Eleven in Nassau and Freeport and all over the place. Chub Key. What else am I forgetting? Bimini, of course, Alistown, and Gary and I, we took a ride, and we went over for lunch, get some conch and hang out and screw around, and way to kill an afternoon, really. And then we departed Allenstown, Bimini, as it was getting dark. Okay. No, we knew how to
No,
do
I
it.
know, but
we knew where we were going.
coming back at night, you talk
Yeah,
about
well.
scrutiny.
Well, we're taking off,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, I see these lights flying by, and I said, "Gary, they're tracer bullets. They're shooting at us." And they're behaving defense for us. They kept.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Holy crap.
So we jammed the throttles. The one advantage we always had, we were faster than everybody else. 'Cause we were built for racing.
Right.
So this was not a fishing boat.
Right. Which is probably why it attracted so much attention.
Yeah,
'cause,
you're right. That probably didn't
Yes.
help. So so Gary and I, we hit the deck. Gary put the throttles all the way down and pointed in the general direction, and we just outran them.
Wow.
Eventually, the tracer bullets were falling in the water. You know. We were outrunning them so fast.
That's insane.
Oh,
Outrunning
yeah.
the bullets.
Huh?
Outrunning the bullets.
Yeah. Well,
That's impressive.
well, you got to remember, we were racers, and we were in race boats, so it was.
And that was probably the boat of choice for smugglers at the time. They would steal those racing boats left and right, use them for whatever they needed, and a lot of times sink them or set them on fire. Let's talk to these guys. We haven't even introduced our...
Right.
Who wants to talk to them?
Right.
You think they're going to have a story anywhere near as good
Well,
as mine?
I'm
I
pretty
bet
sure
you-
we do not.
I bet you they have quite a
yeah.
few, though,
Yeah.
considering the fact
Alright.
that they're here.
So let's explain who they are.
Right. So starting with me, my name is Gregory. I'm a resident here at Here's Help, and
Who sent you to Here's Help?
my mother through Marchman Act.
Oh, you're a Marchman Act.
Yes. All right.
Let me explain for people who don't know what a Marchman Act is. Simply put, it's a civil commitment. It's you go to court, like his mother probably went to court, said, I can't handle him, he's taking drugs, he's killing himself. So the court then orders you into a commitment to get yourself straightened out, and that's what he's talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Precisely.
My name is Nick. I am a client here, and I'm just here.
But you're going on to bigger and better things.
Oh yes, like I'm graduating on December 4th. I'm going to Job Corp, which this place has provided me for.
Mhm.
I'm going to go work for construction technology, and if I continue doing well over there, I get a 2-year free for college, and that, to
Yeah.
me, that's a very good opportunity.
See, this is the wonder of Here's Help. Nick. See, I know where to go, nothing to do. He needs a lot of help. Well, he did. He got a lot of help. He got a lot of training. He got a lot of direction. He got a lot of goals. And he lives here. We take care of him till he goes off to the Job Corps. This is like the optimal outcome for us in so-called substance abuse.
Definitely.
And and you're going to do very well
Thank you, thank
Yeah.
you.
because
I
you're
appreciate it.
determined.
Oh, trust me, I'm really ready to go. to
You're
school.
also patient.
Yes.
Why you say that?
No, you are. You're a patient guy.
Yes. I just got here about almost a month. So I'm pretty new.
By got here, you mean Here's Help.
Here's Help, yes. And I have 2 more months to go, to complete my 90 days. And I plan on going to Job Corps as well. I'm not really sure what to study.
So you're going to go to Job Corps?
Yes.
That's good.
Same campus
yeah.
as me, actually. I saw his little document that he showed me. We see it in the
That's
same
good.
campus.
Marchman
Mhm.
to Job Corps. Good move.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure what to study, but I know I'm not gonna go into the medical field like my mom wants me to.
Why not?
I just there's no like wing in it that
There's no what?
excite me.
No wing.
How can I say it?
No
Wing.
interest?
Yeah, no like there's no branch of the medical field that interests me not a EMT, not a nurse, not a doctor.
So where do you want to go?
So I would like to do something like engineering, but like computer engineering, perhaps. Even though I don't know anything about coding.
So
I
you
feel
gotta
like-
go, you want to go to school after here,
Yes.
or even during here.
Yeah, during here actually, I haven't graduated high school, and starting next week, I will start studying for the GED test,
Right.
and I'm going to complete my GED. And here's hope.
That's a big component of everything that you do at Here's Help is the education, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
it-
people don't realize we
Right.
have a Dade County school on the grounds. We have 3 full-time teachers, and especially in the younger demos, we can do a lot of things. But we can also in the older demos. He's like well suited
Mhm.
for us to take, to push him in that direction and to get that kind of outcome.
Well, you
Definitely.
explained the way you explained it to me is a lot of these guys, as you like in this case, high school kind of fell by the wayside
Oh yeah.
due to their issues with substances, and so
Definitely.
the first step. to
Getting
take-
high is a lot more fun than
Well,
sitting in
yeah.
sitting in a chair.
Yeah, I'll have to admit that.
Can't even lie to you. No.
But my point being that that's the first step is to get your diploma.
I
and
would
then-
sell the chair.
Yeah.
Yes, you would.
Uh,
You know, a lot of people don't really know. They have sort of a vague understanding of my background, and
I'm sure it's kind of vague to you too.
oh no, it's crystal clear. Believe me.
No, just kidding.
And I had a brother that was like just a little over a year older than me, so we were kind of in the same. And we moved from the Bronx out to Long Island, and it was a different world. The Bronx world actually was safer,
Oh yeah.
than the Long Island, subdivision
Mhm.
world was. So anyway, I at 12 years old, I started, and my brother Bobby, rest in peace, he was 13, so we used to run around together. And back then, you could get what was called exempt narcotics, which was codeine and different things. All you had to do was sign a book. There was no prescription or anything. You just had to sign for it. But then they could come and track you by what you signed and what you didn't sign. But anyway, so that went on for years and years and years. And then when I was finally, I guess 19, I found myself once again in a how can I explain this? Jail.
Let's see. What's the word?
What's the
What's
word?
the
That's the
word?
proper word to say this.
Yeah. And to me, jail was part of this landscape.
Mhm.
And out on Long Island, when I went to jail, I knew most of the guys. That we were all in the same neighborhood, same problem, same thing. Anyway, and I eventually went into one of the first, if not the first, so-called drug program ever with Dr. Victoria Sears, who was the godmother of substance abuse. And they sent me, and my lawyer, it's a long story. My stepmother had worked for one of the biggest lawyers in New York City. He was the district attorney for the Bronx. He had his own. He was an alderman. His name was Bertram Gelfand. He's a big time lawyer, and not the kind that I was accustomed to. But my stepmother worked for him, so she got him, and he got me placed. He got me into the Nassau County, substance abuse, whatever they called it, and put me in the program. And I was in the program for 2 years, and the entire time, you wouldn't believe this, but they used to, your probation officer used to sit in the counseling. Yeah.
Wow.
They didn't want to take their eyes off of us. But anyway, so they, she got me in there, and I spent 2 years. Started to go to college at Nassau Community College out there. But Dr. Sears and I knew that while I was under the, Bertram Gelfand got the district attorney of Nassau County to do a dispensation for me to get me in the program and all this kind of stuff. But it was a real one false move, and you're out of here. And they were waiting and looking. And I used to look at my car window if I was going. They were there. You look at, they were in trees. They were everywhere. You couldn't avoid them. And I had to report every weekend. I had to go there. It was at Roosevelt Field, Lindbergh, and I had to go to counseling a minimum of 3 nights a week. And they took urine tests, and the urine tests were tested by the Nassau County, health department, whatever they be called. They checked the urine test. They didn't let us, So push was coming to shove, and Dr. Sears, and I knew, she said, you got to get out of here, right? And I said, yep. He said, because the minute I would have been out of her supervision and sort of...
Back on your own.
Well, yeah, and back, they literally were in the trees waiting to get me.
Wow.
So, but I spent a lot of time back in the Bronx because enforcement was very lax, to say the least. But
And this was what, late 60s?
69.
Yeah.
69 is when I left. And what happened is, I think I've probably told you this story before. I sold everything I owned. Because I had worked too. My father had a precision gear business, and I worked at that. They had me boxed in every way you could imagine. Okay? They would count the pieces of toilet paper I took it.
What?
So now it's an expression. So anyway,
He's nervous.
But we used to, on weekends, we would go to Atlantic City because they would throw concerts at the track, and we would go up to New England to different things. Well, there was a little town called Bethel in upstate New York, and it was the Friday, and I was leaving Monday. And what we did was we got people back then, they probably still do it, who winter in Florida. They we would ferry their car. We would ferry the car down for them. And then they would give us the gas money, and we would destroy the car. So anyway, I'm scheduled to leave Monday. Okay, and Dr. Sears and I, we didn't even tell the cops because they were afraid that the minute I walked from the front door to the car,
Right.
they were going to grab me.
You'd be thrown over it.
Because they were pissed off more than usual because of my lawyer. They couldn't. He was very powerful, and he interfered with their usual thing. So anyway, Friday I had a girl, and she had 3 girlfriends. And she had a car, and we went up to Bethel, also known as Woodstock. But that wasn't unusual for us because they had those festivals all the time. They had them in, in what do you call it, Forest Hills and the tennis place. And it's New York. Everybody's there. So I sold everything I had. Didn't go out of the house. I stayed there till she showed up with the car. And I got in the car. So now I'm in a car with 3 girls. And I look pretty innocent at this point. So we go up there, and one of their parents or family was a bigwig at one of. They had all these resorts in that Catskills and all that there, and people go and stay for the whole. Like they would send the family and kids up for the summer, and so here we are, and I'm in the girls' dormitory, which is across the street from the main building. No, but I'm living the life of Riley here.
Right. Everybody else at Woodstock is rolling around in the mud.
I'm going over to the cafeteria, getting spare ribs and
right.
Beers and drinking and whatever else. And
one of the only concession stands at Woodstock burned
there was
down.
nothing there.
Yeah, they had no food, no
nothing.
cover.
It was
no
a cow pasture.
And you're staying at a resort.
Yeah, and no, but there was nothing there.
No.
It was just a big cow pasture from that guy, that weird old
Max
farmer.
Yasker.
Yeah, who wanted to get even with his farmer neighbors, and it was like being in Paris during World War II. Every night, you get on those mountain roads, you walked all the way down there, and there were people. I was shocked. There were people like coming with backpacks and stuff, and I go, "Where are you from?" California. And I'm like, California? You realize where you are? So, and they'd be walking all around. But I didn't, all I did was eat, drink, and at night walk to the concert site, which I didn't even really like. I thought it was a pain. And it was you couldn't hear the music. I also didn't know who. Those were not the kind of groups I was accustomed to seeing.
Well, it's pretty funny. A lot of those bands no one had ever heard of
exactly.
until they played at Woodstock. And as you mentioned, live sound technology in '69 was not what it is today. Neither was stage management. So as I've been told, there was an awful lot of empty space between bands. I mean, it was sometimes.
Oh
like an hour before they could.
It was a big muddy field, and it rained, and it was a. I was used to the Newport Folk Festival, the Forest Hill, more sophisticated events.
So Woodstock was actually
a
crappier, like.
Well, it was.
Let me answer your question because it's a good one.
Yeah.
Up there, in the summertime. People go to the beach. They go to the shore. They go to the concerts. They're going because they don't get a whole year to go. They got to go then.
And the weather's nice up there in the summertime.
Yeah,
it's not hot and humid like it is down here.
So, but we were professionals because we would go all the time to different shows. We used to go to the YMCA. First thing we got to when we got to a town is the YMCA. And we'd get a locker, we'd take a shower, we'd clean ourselves up, and we could come back the next day. It was like 50 cents you pay the brothers because it was a Catholic thing. And we became sort of pros at it. We knew what to do. And we had a lot of fun, and it was always a lot of girls, and there was always a lot of fun going on. And but I was staying at I think it was called the Laurels. But anyway, so the weekend went by. All I really did was walk to the site and to look at it. And you're right, the bands, it was like hours before they would come on. Then you couldn't hear it. Then it was like, it was really a fiasco.
A lot of feedback.
Yeah, it was
a lot of everything going wrong.
It was poorly planned, and
it rained.
And the guys that put it on really didn't know. They'd never done it.
Yeah, there was like two guys from.
Well, Artie Kornfeld and Mike Lang.
Is that who they were?
Yeah.
They were from the Bronx, right?
Yeah. And
what the hell did they know?
Well, it's very funny.
What would they know about stage management and
that and the
they
fact
didn't
that
have stage management. They barely had a stage.
They didn't anticipate the enormous crowd that was going to show up.
Ron makes a good point. What happened was these two guys somehow or another talked one of the pop radio stations into helping them sell tickets, and they didn't really sell that many, and the whole thing was a disaster and fiasco. But as Ron pointed out, word got out And I mean, there were literally people coming from California and Wisconsin.
Oh,
And I was looking
Oh,
at them
yeah.
like, you came all the way here to go to Yasgur's cow crap farm?
Orama.
Yeah, I mean, what does it, I'm sitting in the girls' dorm with
Right.
with a ripple and a bunch of ribs. Okay, yeah, I know how to travel, pal.
Yeah, right.
I'm not one of these hicks. And I learned quick the first night. The girls would always get some sucker guys to carry their backpacks.
Mm.
They go, oh yeah. So, and then the guys would get like, wide-eyed, and then as they got closer to the thing, and the girls would go, thank you,
Right.
and take
See
the
you later.
backpack and take off.
I see my boyfriend now.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm gonna go find like the Who, but I wouldn't carry their packs. I told them, you carry your own pack. What the hell, who do I look like? And I'm
Wow, what a
I'm living in-
gentleman.
I'm on my way to the dinner buffet. Carry your own
Yeah,
backpack.
I was.
No way to eat.
They had great ribs.
Oh, that's
But
all right.
here's so I'm sitting at the girls' dormitory, which is, it's all mountain roads, little narrow mountain roads. And the main resort was across the street, what street there was. And so I went over and got takeout. And I went sitting on the porch of the, there's a house. You gotta understand, it's, especially like that, there were like wooden
Like little cabins.
cabins, yeah,
Yeah.
good word for it. So I'm sitting there, and there's a million people pouring into this place.
Oh.
They closed the New York Thruway down.
Mhm.
Right? We went very early that Friday morning. We were there by like 9 o'clock. So I'm sitting on the porch with a ripple, and which was, for us, that was fine wine.
Right.
and I'm sitting there with a bunch of ribs. I'm having ribs. And I looked down on the mountain road, and it was a lot like being outside of Paris when the Nazis were coming. I mean, it was the roads.
Just a caravan.
Yeah, the roads
The
were packed.
invasion.
Nobody was really
Yes.
moving.
I just
There was
see
no
like
there was no
lights and
water. There was
Nothing.
There was nothing.
Yeah.
Whatever people showed up with, and then people started to get like, I ain't giving you my water,
Mhm.
So anyway, I'm looking at the mountain road from the porch with a rib, and I see, and they're going 1 mile an hour,
Yeah.
and I'm looking, and I see this guy laying on the hood of a car. Okay, like,
Right.
and it's Monty.
Your old
man.
buddy from the Bronx.
Yeah, and it's like how I ever crossed paths with him, with the thousand.
In a sea of humanity.
Yeah. So
Only
I
you.
told him, I said, get off the car, come on, have some ribs. They pulled over. This guy named Billy Reichert, and who I came to Florida with too, and they stayed with me for a couple of hours. We were dining out on the porch, and the cars, people were starving, and
Yeah.
got water. No, they were drinking out of the hoses. They were turning the hoses on at the houses and the farms, and they were drinking out of the thing. It was really, there was no infrastructure of any
No,
kind.
it was very poorly planned.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't
miracle.
planned. There wasn't a plan.
Well, it wasn't planned, yeah.
But I had a plan. My plan was to sell everything I owned,
Right.
Yep.
Go to a show.
secretly
Mm.
go up to the Catskills in a car with 4 girls. Okay.
Didn't he say 3 at the beginning?
He did.
Was it
Yes.
3?
Yeah,
Was it
okay.
3?
Just doing a little fact
Well,
check.
I can count them. Jerry.
The story's beginning to take on a life of its own.
It probably was. One of them hated me like poison.
Oh, that's probably why you discounted her.
No, but I think
didn't
you're right.
exist.
They
She wasn't
probably.
there.
It was one of those Mustangs.
Mhm.
So it probably had 4 seats,
Probably.
and I was in the right front.
So it's kind of
So, that's funny.
And I gave Monty and this other guy, Reichert, I gave them, water. I gave them ribs. I went to the cafeteria, got more stuff. We gave so we had a nice little time there.
That's too funny.
And then at night, I would walk to the fairgrounds,
Right.
and I wouldn't carry anybody's pack. I wouldn't. I barely went. I went, looked around, and came back. It was
Right.
it was too.
You didn't want to get too far from the food.
Yeah, but there was nothing there.
Right,
It was-
well.
and you hit it right on the head. The bands took like 4 hours in between bands.
Well, it would
and-
only stand to reason. And imagine if it
and
was
a lot
like,
of them didn't ever get off the ground.
Right.
Jimi Hendrix was,
Right.
you know, it was like, what is, you know, I wanted to see Simon and Garfunkel and the Temptations. I
Right.
didn't want to see,
Oh yeah, definitely.
see who these guys are.
That's too funny. Well, I
Dang.
think we should wrap this
Well, wait,
episode
wait,
up. Oh,
wait.
okay.
So
There's more.
yeah, Monday morning, me and that guy Billy Reichert, did I tell you that? Monday morning at like 5 a.m., we had the car from the people in, you know, in
You were driving
South
to Florida.
Shore.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got the car. He came picked me up on our way to Florida. Signing off.
Right after Woodstock. Wow.
No, but no, it wasn't. It was. I wouldn't say avoiding, but I was allowed to leave under the circumstances. Don't ever come back.
Don't come back. Yeah.
Silent.
We'll let you leave as long as you
Yeah,
don't come back.
And I
Like
did.
he
I
said.
left.
I'll let you leave, but you
Too funny.
promise me you
And
don't
you came
come back.
You came down here and started Here's Help, and the rest is history.
Well, I came here, and the first thing I did was go to Miami-Dade North. But we'll pick that up in next week's show.
Excellent.
That was a good place to be.
That
boy.
one.
But my brother got
Oh,
back
man.
from Vietnam, and he couldn't find me. Somehow, I'll tell this story next week.
All right.
I know this story that you're gonna tell me.
I did? I told
Yes,
you? Yeah.
this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, okay.
For
All
next
right.
week,
I'm Footy.
I'm Gregory.
I'm Nick.
I'm Ron.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to the Footy Podcast. To benefit, here's help. For more information about the Footy Podcast or Here's Help, contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. The executive producer of the Footy Podcast is Sam Zacco, COO of Here's Help.